pitching to Brandon and those guys. I don't know how many of you folks read or have read the original Buck Rogers comic strips, but basically what Gil was pitching to these guys was essentially the original concept of the character. He was very earthbound. He didn't, you know, blast off constantly in outer space. If you go back to those original newspaper strips, he was a secret agent on Earth. He worked for the defense directorate after a time, but he was very grounded on Earth. So you had your finger on the pulse of it then, and they didn't get it.
And they had their fingers in their, I'd never. But at least they did listen to me, and then, you know, it just didn't work out. And who knows, we might have still been doing what I'd be going, hey, what do you say, Will? Let's go kick some butt tonight. Yes, sir. They see women mechanics. They see strong women like Erin leading a force of men and women You know, it's like, this is after the Holocaust, for God's sakes. I mean, we need everybody we can get. And she, you know, it diminishes her character if she's the only woman who makes it. It makes her more like, you know, well, this is our sort of, you know, well, we have our woman, that's all we need, our trophy woman, or whatever. I said, it adds to her strength to have other women. She's the best of the best. And I did shut the show down because of that, and I made them come with uniforms for the women and put the men in more, you know, 25th century civilian garb, because all the men were in uniform and all the women were in gowns, and I said, no, 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 you can't do this. So there's a shot of Aaron and I standing on a walkway outside the Bonaventure Hotel, and we were standing and actually just talking because we were waiting for the wardrobe people to come to the uniform. And I was sort of staying out of range. But there was a lot of that, and I just wanted the show to be as good as it could be, and they didn't appreciate it. I mean, Michael Landon told me the great story of all time, and I did a pilot for him, and I guest starred on Little House on the Prairie, and he said, Gil, you got to understand. He said, we exist to fill the space between commercials. As far as the networks are concerned, it's the commercials that are important. We're just there to fill that time between the two. And it was a kind of a cynical way of looking at it, but it was true. I mean, because they're in business, and their business is selling time. And his whole thing was, art happens by accident. And then of course the networks act like, well, this is what we always wanted. It's like, no. They're only happy if it's artistic and it's getting good ratings, so they can charge as much money as possible per minute. So
they would kill them in your ratings today.
Oh yeah, yeah. To show you how badly Buck Rogers was handled as far as marketing or putting it on the air, after 4 shows, we were tied in the ratings with Laverne and Shirley and Benson. Now, Laverne and Shirley, the year before, had been the #1 show overall for the year. And Benson was the hot new comedy. And we were tied with them in that time slot. And they took us off the air for 4 weeks. We were preempted. They had 2 Thanksgiving specials which went in the toilet. And then they had a retrospective. We'd only done 4 shows. How do you do a retrospective on 4 shows? That's like 4 years down the line you do a retrospective. They did a retrospective on the 4 shows we'd already done, and then they reran the pilot. So by the time they finished, they were like, gee, what happened to the show? It's like, well, morons. It's like, it's as if you were a high school team, and after 3 quarters you were tied with the Green Bay Packers, 0-0, and you left the field and wondered why you lost the game. You took us out of the game. That's what happened. And they actually came back with an idea. They're like, well, we'll get some young kid with a guitar, and we'll put him in the show. That'll help. It's like, what? What is this? Yeah, exactly. We could borrow from that.
If I remember correctly, about a first-time director for that episode. Guitar?
We didn't have a kid with a guitar.
We did.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. We did. There was a rock and roll.
Well, that was rock and roll. That was the kid with the guitar. That was Jerry Orbach was the guest star on that. But yeah, there was a rock and roll thing. Kids was rocking and singing. Someone just mentioned that today to me.
Somebody mentioned to me that
I have no idea.
I'm going to tell you.
Wait.
I
Do we all want to hear what she has to say? Yes!
I completely forgot that was in Buck Rogers. It was an episode where you had a motorbike and you ran out of gas.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's rare for me.
Yeah. And you reached in your pocket, you pulled out some marbles and dropped them in the gas tank and it turned into gas.
Takes balls to the day.
That's what I'm here for. Just set them up, set them up, set them up.